Hey, BB Nate.
Yes.
You doing okay this afternoon?
I'm doing fantastic. Snyder Cut came out yesterday. It was so freaking good.
He's excited.
Just a little bit.
About that. Sam, give me a one word to describe the series premiere of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
All right. Setup. But that's not a bad thing. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
But it's not Tatooine Sons if we don't talk Star Wars, Dad. Are you going to be able to fit that in?
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. I'll answer that with one word myself. Boba Fett.
That's too
okay.
damn.
It's fine.
Not that I'm complaining, but that's 2 words.
All right. Well, that's all coming after these ads specifically chosen for you because Alexa heard what you said in your sleep last night. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the Porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that Porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody listen.
The symbol lives on.
I'm not even sure. Hey, well, listen. If you're sorry about that. Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation, and that there is a story that is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. There's a lot of mythology in Snyder Cut yesterday, BB. Yeah. And that's why we talk about all these things. Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, a bunch of other stuff, whatever we feel like talking about that week. But always some Star Wars.
Always.
This
is Tatooine Sons.
It's our first love. I'm the dad.
Okay.
Hi, Dad.
I'm the David, is what I was getting ready to say.
I'm the David. Okay.
You're not the David, though,
I'm not.
There's another David on this
That's right.
show.
Well, there's David, and then there's the
Okay.
David.
All right. That's a good point.
I'm the dad. I'm joined by a couple of pretty awesome kids. Young men. I'll start with you today, BB Nate. How are you doing? You excited?
I am. I'm very excited to start talking about it.
Finally.
Of course. It's
Right?
been so long.
And then Samuel the Hutt.
Hola.
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 You should
learn
say
a
a
new-
chuta.
No, we said we were going to nix that because we're no longer.
You should say a chuta, though. I mean, you have the
confuse
opportunity.
people though if they're coming from Marvel.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Also, I don't want to. If people aren't fluent in Huttese, I don't want people to think I'm cussing them out.
Yeah, if you said the other version of it,
What is that? What is that other version?
I'm not sure.
It's ichuta.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa! We just got an
Great
explicit rating on
apology.
this podcast.
No,
now.
nobody knows it. So yeah. Anyway, let's see. It's Friday.
It is.
It is.
It's been a busy couple of days.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff. Going to enjoy our little Sabbath rest tonight and tomorrow.
Amen.
And then, amen. Preach it for other. And then Sunday, we've got, we'll do some Sunday stuff. So,
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Yeah,
Almost.
it's a birthday.
thanks.
Yeah. You're even older now.
Wow. It just literally, in this very moment, not a joke, it's hitting me that I'm going to be 46 years old.
You're old.
It just feels.
You're closer to 50
That's exactly.
than you were 40.
It's like hitting me. And I don't get hit by birthdays, but that one's like,
You're old.
wait, I'm on my way to I'm right
Almost
there.
over that hill.
Yeah, so we'll do some birthdays.
What do you want to do this weekend?
Well, I mean, we're going to have Grammy over.
course.
And
Yeah.
have some. Mom's going to make some
stuff.
amazing lunch and some cupcakes. Hopefully, she won't have a mini stroke or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try and not do that again.
That's what happened on my birthday party last year. Not really a stroke, but we thought it was.
It was basically a stroke.
Emergency and 3 days in the hospital. So that wasn't very much. No, somebody on the other day on Twitter asked what your favorite non-Star Wars movie was.
Okay.
I'll ask you guys real quick before we jump in,
Nate.
and I give my answer. BB Nate, favorite non-Star Wars movie?
I don't know.
Not a favorite
Wow.
guy.
I'm not like a favorite guy when it comes to other like franchises or something like
Okay,
that.
that's
So-
fair. That's fair, and that's the way I am about most things.
okay.
Mine's easy. Interstellar.
Really?
Oh, I love that movie.
I would think like BB Nate would say something like Inception or.
I mean, it's a good movie, but it's not a favorite.
Interesting. Yeah, mine is the Amazing Grace movie.
I knew you were going to
Yeah,
say it.
you
It
do
really
like that
is
one.
about William Wilberforce
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
abolition of slavery. Well, for the people that are listening, if they don't know,
Oh, okay.
Abolition of slavery in
It's a good movie.
in England. It's it grabs me. So I haven't watched that in years. I want to watch it. So
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. If you guys don't have anything to do this weekend and you want to have some fun, check out our website. We changed it. It's completely rebooted.
Brand new.
You know, just like the show, and just like the show has added in lots of other pop culture content to it, we've got that on the website. So it's more than just a place to house episodes of the podcast.
Yes.
That's obviously there. You can find the podcast on the website, but there's articles and links to more articles where the goal for this website is to be a place where you can go to find
Reputable,
non-super clickbaity, fact-driven sources for either your own podcasts or just if you want to learn what's happening in the latest film or TV series. It's getting ready to come out. So like we've got some content on there for Falcon and Winter Soldier and Justice League. We're starting to build out the content for Black Widow, Bad Batch, which we talked about last week on the show, that kind of thing. So as you're looking for new information, instead of having to search Google News and scroll through everybody doing the exact same story, you had like 15 posts that are all about Ming-Na Wen's picture about that. You can go to our website and we'll have one article that we link to where we give an explanation and then we link to it and you can just go for that. So that's the goal from that. And we got to get into the show. We've been talking a little bit longer than we need, but I want to make sure that you guys understand if you're listening to this show, this is a different type of a reaction show. I've listened to several of them through WandaVision, and I even listened to one on Snyder Cut today. And so often, and we did this on The Mandalorian and on The Resistance.
Just as,
we do this too.
Yeah.
But in the past, these and my experience with the reaction shows is they tend to be just a blow-by-blow recap of everything that happens in the film or in the show. And we don't want to do that. So if you want that, there's a lot of those that are out there. But the goal of this show is to basically spend 15 minutes talking about the most important things about that episode or that show or that film and have some fun geeking out about it, because this is what we do. We would never sit around our kitchen table after watching the Snyder Cut and give a blow-by-blow conversation about that.
That's a good point.
What we're doing is we're literally having our conversation right in front of you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I hope
that's why we've tried to hold off talking about it. I mean, we did talk about it a little bit, but we're holding on.
Yeah. So we'll get into the Snyder Cut after I guess that's it right now.
That's me.
BB Nate, set it up.
Is.
Yeah.
So after waiting for so long, it has finally arrived, and it was definitely worth the wait. We will be talking all about the characters, the plot, and what we thought about the movie, and I have absolutely no idea how I will fit all of what I need to say in 15 minutes, but here we go.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Batman has no limits.
Why is it that happens? It happened with Mark Hamill. It happens with so many of these things where the deep fake version of it is so much better than.
I think it's just because deep fake is so new that studios haven't decided or haven't realized that they can.
All right, let's do this.
All right, again, this is a huge spoiler alert for this huge movie. Of course, if you don't want to get spoiled, don't listen to this and watch the fantastic movie that is.
Go watch the movie, then come
back.
Yep.
Yes.
But if I've already gotten spoiled, then let's go. So the characters, we'll talk about those first, and of course, we'll talk about the main people of this movie, the Justice League.
I want to talk about the police officer that Lois kept bringing coffee to.
What was his name? Jerry? Jimmy?
No, his name is Jimmy. Do you know? Oh, here's a little nugget. Do you know this, BB Nate? Do you know anything about this?
I'll let you see. I'll let you talk about it and see if I do.
This is the actor that played Jimmy Olsen in the 80s versions of the Superman movies. Jimmy Olsen, the photographer from the...
Oh,
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I will have to say that probably Batman and Bruce Wayne were kind of the main characters of this movie. Because they were the ones that set up everything. He got the League together. He had the main points with Wonder Woman and all that stuff.
Financed everything.
Yes, I loved Bruce Wayne's character in this movie.
You know what his superpower is?
He's rich.
Money.
He's rich. I think that's so funny because then he throws $25,000 at Aquaman at the beginning of this thing, like showing that's my superpower.
Exactly.
I would
Right.
buy your allegiance, your
He's like,
conversation.
Like Superman's like, how'd you get the house? He's like, I bought the bank. Like,
So-
And all these expensive cars and everything.
Right.
But
the Bat Whale.
I loved his character in this. I mean,
well, you're a huge Batman
I
fan.
know.
So.
And one of my favorite lines is when the League actually goes into the Batcave for the first time. And he's like, everybody, Alfred, I work for him.
Yeah, I work for Alfred.
I found that to be hilarious. And also, Alfred's character was fantastic. I loved the scene when Diana was making tea and he was like, well, you don't do that. No.
He's like, you're doing
She's
it wrong.
5,000 years old. She probably knows how to make tea. Okay.
But he's an old English butler.
Yeah,
so.
he's
knows how to
totally
make tea.
freaking out. Like inside, he's dying because the way she does it. That was awesome.
And then he goes and takes the tea to her after he finishes it.
Right.
We didn't see. We saw more of Bruce Wayne than we did Batman, which
That's true.
was fine. I loved his character of Bruce Wayne, and I liked how he was as Batman. He held his own, which was always good. But not spending too much time on each character. Let's just move right along to Wonder Woman, who had really cool scenes in this movie.
Yeah, I liked her character in this.
She was more of a warrior than what we saw in Wonder Woman 84, which we love Wonder Woman 84, but it was a totally different take
That was
on
20
the
years
character.
ago. It was 40
Yes.
years ago almost.
So she's kind of turned into this warrior hardened person, like as we saw in the beginning bank heist scene.
That was awesome.
That was a really cool scene. I loved that.
Did you guys notice the scene with the when she's throwing the suitcase bomb? And she throws it, and you notice this is a moment when the IMAX has to happen. Everybody's still kind of freaking out about that.
Yeah,
but
the distance.
the distancing happens between. It
Yeah.
was fantastic.
It was really good. Moving on to Superman.
Well, no, hold on.
you want
I'm
to
going to stop
Okay.
because I don't know. I didn't like Wonder Woman's character as much in this
Really?
one as compared to the other
Really?
films. Yeah, I feel like it was forced in some character. I don't think she didn't grab my attention like the other characters did. With it, she was there to give. It felt like they put her in there
Because they needed
to look great. Because Gal Gadot is a very attractive young lady, and she's Israeli, and she's she got her start by being a model for the Israeli Defense Forces. That's how she got her start in.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Anyway, and then to give voice to voice like the history lessons. She just kind of is there to tell the history of everything that's
she's
happening.
very important in the final battle scene.
Okay,
She
I
went
get
for
you
the
that.
head.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that's my Diana moment. So.
Moving on to Superman, he was not in this movie for
Hardly
very
at
long.
all. I was
But
expecting much more from him.
I really enjoyed his character. I loved how, and so I was very mixed on how they brought him back in the 2017 version, but it felt a lot better in this movie than
Explain
it
the
did.
difference on that for me.
Yeah, because I'm lost.
It literally.
Well, yeah, I think we should probably qualify that. I think if you didn't listen to last week's episode, I saw the original Justice League, the theatrical cut, about a month ago, and fell asleep through most of it. And BB Nate's seen it and knows all the details about all this. And Sam,
you've never seen it.
You've never seen it, so
it's the same way. They use the mother box, the Genesis chamber, flash runs, and all that stuff. It's the same way, but it wasn't set up as well as it was in this. It wasn't. There was like, it kind of felt like, oh, they're just bringing Superman back to say that they have Superman in this movie.
There wasn't any
in the old version, the theatrical cut.
Really,
yeah, I remember that. I remember them just like, okay.
In this one, they're
Superman's alive.
They're like, he's necessary. He's
one of the Guardians.
powerful. And I love how Flash. He's like, he was my hero. I looked up to him. He was.
And this
he
sounds
meant more to me.
The theatrical cut's so different.
It is
right,
so different. But then we get to the heart of the movie, or what most people consider to be the heart of the movie, Cyborg. I actually really enjoyed his character in this. I loved when he went into his cyborg cybernetic brain something.
His mind space.
His mind and all that stuff. And how he actually felt for people, like the waitress and all that stuff. And how he gave her more money and all that stuff.
I didn't, like... I thought that was cool for the character. I have very little knowledge of Cyborg. All I know is he's a cyborg and he can, like, do cool stuff. But I didn't realize, and I don't know if this is a comic thing and it has been set up before, but, like, he has basically full control of everything technological on the planet. Like,
he can hack
everything. I didn't know that.
And that why
automatically makes him such a cool character. Like, way cooler.
Because he has so much power and he doesn't use it. Which is the main thing.
Which they don't set that up at all in the theatrical cut. You don't have any emotional connection to Cyborg. He is robotic as you can get.
What you thought of Cyborg before this movie is what we got. He didn't do much. He just had cool robot things. And that's really all it felt like. In this movie, he's a lot better. And we're moving on to the Flash, who was absolutely awesome in this movie. I loved him. He was really the only comic relief in this movie, but all of his jokes landed much better than Brunch from the original Justice League movie.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So when Bruce Wayne and Barry Allen meet for the first time, they have this whole 2-minute long conversation. He's like, "What is brunch?" It just feels it's like out of place. He just says, "What is brunch?" He's like, "You wait for an hour for essentially lunch. Like, what is it?"
Oh, I think I do remember that. And it was like an attempt at humor that didn't work.
It did not work.
This one, he was funny in this. What do you think about the Flash?
Oh, I loved his character in this movie. I don't know very much about Flash, but it was super, super fun. He was actually really cool. I mean, that whole end scene when he's like literally running back through time, I was literally like, my mouth was open. I'm like,
did you guys see me during that, like right before that scene? Like when everything goes to like hell,
the
apocalypse, moment. I was like sitting there on my seat going, "Oh my gosh, this has really happened." I thought that it was really happening.
I mean, it's like the snap in
Infinity War, but worse. And I'm leaning forward. And I'm like, I'm all in this. And I'm not that way about DC. No. I don't even get that way about Marvel. I love Marvel, but I don't get emotionally invested in the movies with it. And I'm leaning forward and I'm like, it happened. This is over. I thought that was the cliffhanger that was coming. And then at the moment that it goes to Barry, and he's like he's making this choice. You could see the wheels are kind of spinning in his head. I'm like,
break your one rule, Barry.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna go back in time. And I'm sitting there, and I know nothing about Flash, like you're saying, Sam, but I absolutely was like, yes, do it, kid, do it. I was so excited.
I loved the setup with his dad, and he's like, make your own future.
Yeah. Their relationship was cool.
It was really good, and they had that in the original one, but it just didn't feel as good in this movie.
But I just want to say, I had a revelation last night. I was talking to Nathan about Flash and Batman. I'm like, it's literally just the relationship of Tony Stark and Spider-Man in Civil War. He comes, he finds him out of nowhere. He's just been doing like work around the city. He tests his powers, right, by like throwing the Batarang or whatever. He's got security footage of him, and he's a kid and stuff. It's like it's exactly like Tony Stark and Peter in Civil War. Not complaining, but I mean, it works.
Yeah.
BB Nate, from your understanding, I mean, you are, of the three of us, the one that's more into comics by far.
Really?
Well, I mean, again, this is for those that are listening that maybe aren't aware of that. I get the feeling that for probably the 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even the 90s, that DC and Marvel did a lot of copying of storylines and ideas and characters.
Yes. A lot of copying. And I'm not going to like say that Marvel did the most copying from DC. No, that's not true. They copied more from each other. A lot.
Yeah, it was mutual. It
was mutual. And while Marvel did a little bit more of their characters and everything, and sometimes those characters didn't take off. Like you were mentioning Songbird last week for Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's Black Canary.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've had that a lot, and you had the Flash, and
you've got Hawkeye, you've got Green Arrow, and
Vision and Martian Manhunter, very similar,
are really close to each other.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, that's a side note, but that's what I'm noticing. It felt, guys, the end sequence when they go into the old Wayne Manor, Wayne Mansion, and they're gonna retrofit it, and
which is a really cool way to.
I'm like, what are they doing? I guess
they're making that Avengers Tower.
No, they're making that the Hall of Justice.
Exactly, that's my point.
Oh, yeah.
This is the end of Endgame when Tony's getting ready to take Stark Tower and turn it into Avengers Tower. It's the same scenario.
Endgame.
Not Endgame.
Avengers.
I'm sorry, the original Avengers.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, and then we're moving on to probably the character that was the least in it, but still not a bad character. We're going to Aquaman, who was really enjoyable in this movie. I preferred his character in this than the Solo movie he got. I felt like he was a little bit more conflicted and didn't really know where he was and what he was supposed to do. If he was supposed to protect his people or the people above, which is a lot like Superman and how he was in Man of Steel. But there's not much about him, really. So
I'm so confused as to when this takes place.
Right before the Aquaman movie.
Wait, how does he get the trident then?
This is in its own universe.
Okay.
It's like the Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and the Snyder Cut and Wonder Woman are kind of their own universe.
Okay, but my question is, he gets the trident in this because it was given to him in this film. He has the trident, doesn't he, in Aquaman the film?
I don't think so.
It's the Arthurian legend. He literally has to go pull the sword out of the stone thing.
Yeah. Maybe it's his father's trident or something. But, Dad, what did you think of the Justice League in this movie and how they work together? What did you think of their chemistry?
Okay. I think that some of the scenes between Diana and Bruce were pretty good when she wasn't doing history lessons, like I kind of referred to before. And she did a lot of that with him, with it. But she did okay with it. You can tell this is pre-Wonder Woman. This is pre-Wonder Woman 84. She hadn't filmed anything. This is her first after Batman versus Superman, which is really, show up and look like Wonder Woman and do some stunts. That in that film. This is her first real film.
That's true.
Right? And you can tell that it's like she's less experienced in some of her acting, but she did a good job.
She did a very good
with
job.
it, and the chemistry there was good. I loved the scene between the first one between Bruce and Arthur.
That was a lot.
I'm
of
so
fun.
proud of myself that I just came up with that name right there.
Good job.
It's so much better.
Oh, it's so
than
much
the one in the Justice League. The theatrical cut is garbage in that scene. It's honestly it's pretty insulting. The fish joke and all that kind of stuff.
And it was more serious in this movie because you wouldn't be like talking like that when the end of the world is in balance.
I loved that. I think I liked Cyborg's interaction with it. I just felt it's hard to see him emotionally connect because he's not. That's not his role.
Yeah, and I told Nathan that too. It doesn't feel like the Cyborg that I'm used to, like the Teen Titans Cyborg. I know that's not this character, but a little bit closer to that. It didn't feel like that. But you got to keep in mind this dude's life was literally upended, and so he's still getting to his own. But it seems like at the end of the movie, he's kind of back to that normal self. So I hope we see more of his character like that.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like they worked really well. The battle scenes were amazing.
Yes.
With it, there was great chemistry. Some of the one-liners were fun. Barry's he was sort of the heart. I know people are saying that about Cyborg. I think that there was the emotional content with Cyborg because of what he had to go through. But I think that Barry was the one that made that. Barry's role within the Justice League is the same as Hawkeye's was in the Avengers, as to bring the group together. And the comic relief in Ultron is Hawkeye. With that, the jokes that he's making with Wanda and with Pietro and all that, I felt some of that with Barry.
Yeah, that's true.
And Sam, who was your favorite hero in this movie?
I do really like Batman. In DC, Batman's my guy, right? He's super cool. But in this movie, it was easily the Flash. Yeah, he was so much fun.
He was a lot of fun.
I know his powers on paper are boring. He's fast, but like in his movie, the scenes where he was like running around and stuff, and the special effects, they were so good, and they didn't feel like they copied off of like Quicksilver or anything like that. It felt still original to him. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, and so we're going into the villains now. This is an exciting
There's
part.
less of those.
There are less of those, but they definitely are a challenge. We have Darkseid, who was not in this movie very much, but really cool villain. I loved his scenes, especially in the history lesson. That was
poor man's
awesome.
Thanos. Anyway.
Yeah, you shouldn't have just said that.
Okay, let's move on. We also have Steppenwolf.
He was cool.
I loved Steppenwolf.
All right, I want to get Sam's opinion on Steppenwolf.
What do you think of Steppenwolf?
No, I thought he was a really, really cool villain. I mean, I compare everything to Marvel just because that's what I have more knowledge to. It kind of felt like, Loki, I said this, Steppenwolf is to Darkseid as Loki is to Thanos. But he felt like a less grovelly, more competent, threatening Loki.
That's really interesting because he was such garbage in the theatrical cut.
Bad.
It was one of the worst
He
villains.
looked dumb.
And not just that, he was one of the worst
comic
villains ever. And that was fantastic. I feared him.
I almost felt for him at a couple
Yeah, because
points.
he's got this like internal weird motivation of redemption that he's trying to get with Darkseid. He just wants Darkseid to love him again.
Yeah,
and he's his uncle, isn't he?
Yeah, in the comics at least. I don't know if it's as the same in this movie, but in the comics, yeah.
Like Steppenwolf is Darkseid's uncle.
Right.
Oh, that's so weird. Anyway, yeah, I thought he did fantastic.
I loved
great
it.
character.
And I loved
His
how
armor was cool. Sorry.
He found the anti-life equation, which is such a big part.
That doesn't happen in the other film.
No, it's not even mentioned in the
because there's no Darkseid.
No, there's no Darkseid at all, so there's no point. Which having the anti-life equation is so cool in live action.
I just know that's a very bad thing.
Very bad. We had Asaj as well, kind of the right-hand man of Darkseid, and
yeah.
He was okay. He was just there to kind of move the story forward.
Yes, he was there. He will be more important if they do more. I hope they do. But now moving along
into the story a little bit more,
into what everybody's here for.
I don't know. We've had fun.
We have had fun,
hopefully.
But we had Bruce trying to go and recruit kind of everybody to be able to be.
He's kind of playing Nick Fury's role.
Yes, he was. And so it was really fun to see Bruce not as Batman, but still having, some really good lines and really great moments, especially later on in the movie. He's like, hey, Superman will show up pretty soon to Alfred. And he's like, how do you know? He's like, Faith, Alfred.
Oh, that was such a great
Yeah.
moment. I loved that. As you know, as someone... and if you're listening to this show because this is kind of your first experience with Tatooine Sons, thank you for joining us. If you're a Marvel DC person and you're listening because not so much of Star Wars, you need to understand that when we say at the beginning of the show, we believe that these stories speak to something in our hearts, it's in our souls. It's because we're believers, we're Christians, and so when I hear things like Batman, who was so dark in Batman versus Superman, he'd given up on life, he'd given up on the world, he'd given up on humanity, say something like, nope, this is going to work out. And Alfred asking him why, and he's like, faith, I believe. I'm like, hallelujah. I mean, like having church in there, so it was so cool.
I loved his character in this so much. But the mother boxes started awakening across because of Superman's cries. Basically, that's what Lex Luthor was saying.
That makes so much more sense.
The bell was rung. And so it was really cool also seeing Steppenwolf saying, no lanterns, no Kryptonian, this world will fall like all the others. That was really cool because they mentioned more Green Lanterns, which the one Green Lantern we saw in the history lesson was awesome.
Do we know anything about that one?
Yalen Gur is his name. He was one of the first Green Lanterns, but
I just love the fact that I asked that question and he had the answer.
And then we get later into the movie and we get to halfway through and we're like, wait, in the theatrical cut, we're like 30 minutes away from being done with the movie.
I know. We paused it and we're like, doing the prescribed intermission that Zack Snyder said go potty and stuff at that point.
Exactly.
This will probably be the only Snyder Cut review episode that you hear the phrase go potty on. You're welcome. With that. But and I look at Nathan and I'm like, this movie's almost over in the theatrical cut.
Dang.
And we still had the best parts to come.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they all come together, and I loved how in the first scene under Stryker's Island, they don't know how to work together. So they just start fighting, and they just start doing stuff. And of course, Barry's like, this is not working together. And in the final battle, when they actually do work together, they have like team takedowns. It's awesome.
Yeah,
they really do
cool.
awesome in this movie. And I loved the intimidation, and I felt scared from Steppenwolf and Darkseid. They were intimidating, especially after, of course, Superman just beating on Steppenwolf. He removes one of his horns, which I'm like, wow, that
was dark.
Must be hurting. And then, of course, Aquaman stabs Steppenwolf with his trident, and then he starts going through the boom tube, and then Wonder Woman goes for the head and just cuts it off, and then you see Darkseid completely disappointed with Steppenwolf, just stomping on his head, just smashing it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, Darkseid's not scary because of power. He's scary because of how scared everyone is of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
He's like
you don't
reputation.
see him do anything in this that's terrifying.
No.
You just know what he is capable of doing. And can I say this? That part of him is better than Thanos.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. Thanos wasn't intimidating. His motivation was dumb too. Sorry, we talk about this all the time, but like seriously, overpopulation. That's your motivation.
I like the comic version when he had a crush on a girl.
Death. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, anyway.
And while the overall plot of this movie was the same as the 2017 version, it was much better, more fleshed out. We had everything that was it was so good. So that's going to be kind of segueing into the differences part. The writing was so much better.
Hold on, you were going to ask a question to Sam. I want to make sure. I want to hear what this question is.
Oh, yeah. So. Sammy, what's your favorite moment in this movie?
I mean...
comb through the 4 hours.
Right, there was a lot that happened. I mean, just the first thing that comes to mind is when Barry Allen was running back through time.
Yeah.
I
think that might be my
That makes me
favorite moment.
so excited for the Flash Solo movie coming out next year.
Yeah, I am excited about this for the first time.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this.
So he's the same character?
Yes.
Okay.
Michael Keaton
Good.
Batman, and this might, which is exciting, it might just be able to reset the timeline and make Zack Snyder be able to make his movies.
Let's hope.
Let's do it.
I have faith. All right.
But going back to the writing, it was so much better. There was not as many corny jokes or stuff from Batman, and but the jokes they did have just hit so much better and were actually funny. It felt a lot more emotional as well, a lot more at stake in this movie than the other one. In the other one, you're like, it's just the Avengers are going to win. In this one, you're like, you're not sure, especially at the end there.
That you nailed it, BB Nate. You just nailed what I walked out of the theater. Not really, but thinking about this film. I said it, and I thought about it more. I never felt as emotionally invested in the characters in Infinity War and Endgame as I did in this one. And that's a big deal because I didn't have multiple movies to build up that relationship with those characters. That's the beauty of this Snyder Cut, is it made me care about Aquaman. I don't give a
I don't either.
tar about Aquaman from that movie that came out. Never heard of Cyborg. I mean, I heard of him, but I don't know Cyborg. I don't know Barry, and yet I cared about those characters. In this one,
and they did really well. And of course, we had the more villains, and we had the amazing line from Darkseid at the end. Ready the Armada. We're going to use the old ways. Oh, it's so nice, and we have to have more movies. We just have to. But we're gonna go to overall thoughts.
right.
I'm gonna start with you, Father. What did you think about the movie on a scale of 1 to 10? You can use like 9.2 or something like 6.3 or whatever.
I'm going to say an 8, and here's why I'm going to say that. And Nate's like all pissed off at me.
No, that's good.
I think that you could tell us there were certain sequences that were included in this one that weren't in the others, that were CGI'd, and the CGI just didn't work quite as well because they didn't have the big studio planned out budget for those scenes. It's like, okay, that's a scene that they created just for this cut instead of something that was being created for the original theatrical version that got cut. Do you understand the differences?
And that's really not very much of the movie.
No, but there were those scenes. Plus, I do think that the Diana character was weak. I like Wonder Woman. I think she's awesome. I love the 2 Wonder Woman movies that came out. But I think her character was a little weak in this one. I didn't like Aquaman when he wasn't on board with what they were doing. I didn't think it worked. And so that part of it was just, it didn't feel right. It felt forced. I didn't think his acting was that great, honestly. But it got better. It got better throughout that. So all of that. And then I'm just saying that because I don't want I would love for them to have further movies, and I don't know if they're going to, so I have to take a point off for that. So
okay, Sammy, what did you think about the movie on a scale from 1 to 10?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic all around. I mean, if I want from what I want from a movie, it gave me essentially. It was fun. It was emotional. It had cool scenes. It made me invested in the characters and stuff. I'd give it like an 8.7 or something. Okay. But I am just disappointed.
All right, BB Nate, you have to give us your number.
Yeah, definitely a 9. Just specifically because of all the stuff they brought in from the comics was so nice to hear. The like choppy editing scene from when Cyborg connected to the Kryptonian ship and saw what's going to happen was amazing. Seeing Superman holding Lois's body was so sad and so terrifying, and then Darkseid basically giving him the anti-life equation was so amazing. Awesome. Such a good story. But for a quick wrap up, after all of this waiting, it finally happened. We got it. Now we just have to hope for the other 2 movies to be made so the story can finally be finished. But if you haven't already watched it, then
you've just been completely spoiled.
Yeah. Then actually just check out Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max.
We'll go watch it again.
Yeah.
I wish we could watch it again.
I want to watch it again sometime.
We're going to.
Well, the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier is out today, and we're going to spoil it all. Just up front. Sam's working for the Air Force and is trying to keep his sister's head above water. If you've seen the show, you'll get that.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm the one supposed to doing the dad jokes.
Bucky's doing therapy, but in his usual, Bucky fashion. And there's a group out there trying to disrupt the world order. What's new? That's all up next.
Yeah, that's all coming after these ads personally chosen for you because you keep watching cat videos on YouTube while you're eating your Cheerios. This is Tatooine Sons.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
You're coming to us. Is as the footsteps of doom.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
It felt like this was intentional of bringing those 2 together, as in we're supposed to be thinking that Sam is taking up the mantle on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, speaking of Sam,
hey, Sam.
Hi. So the Air Force is, has got him doing missions for him and stuff, or at least that's what it seemed like they were doing. But they have that awesome scene, right, when he's like flying around, and mom was sitting there in the kitchen with us. She's like, and this is only the beginning of the episode.
Yeah,
She's like,
was
stop.
Freaking out.
But that was like a really cool scene. They put that all over the trailers though.
They did.
But then it kind of, we see Sam, he's like pretty much done with that. And he rescues the hostage or whatever. But Batrock's still out there, by the way. But like he's putting on his suit and the shield and grabbing the shield to go to the Smithsonian, right? So like he's basically decided that he's not going to take up this mantle of Captain America, right? Mm-hmm. He talks about like, how it's a symbol, but it means nothing without the men and women who give them meaning or whatever. And he's like, and this shield only has meaning because of Steve. He's like, it doesn't.
Yeah, what did you guys think about that? Were you surprised that he was going to do that at the beginning, or?
Yeah, I thought that scene or that whole thing was going to happen later. Like, I thought he was going to like practice with the shield and like toil over it for a bit, and then
let's stop and think about that.
Yeah, no, we were going to like, I was trying to think about that too. I thought what was going to happen was he was going to spend a while like trying to decide whether he wanted to take up the mantle and then relinquish it or something, or have to like fight this new Captain America, this U.S. agent or whatever for the role. But I mean, that all happened this first episode. He gave up the shield at the beginning, which I didn't think was going to happen, and then they give it to this other guy.
But BB Nate, I think you saw the final trailer to it. He's training with it.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that yet.
No, so he's got to get this shield back.
I'm sure he gets the shield back. That's what I was thinking. I think he doesn't feel worthy. He doesn't feel like he's fitting in this role. He knows Steve too well. He was a good friend, and taking up a role he doesn't feel he belongs in. So he's.
Yeah, I'm just surprised by this. And now that we're talking it through,
but I think it makes sense the way they're setting this up, because it's like, so like they had the whole scene where like he's trying to help his sister like with the loans and stuff, and then like the guy's like, well, you don't have like superhero like pensions or something, and he's like, no, we're just heroes, we just basically pro bono work. It shows like it's not all glitz and glamour just because you saved the world. And then they like show later that they've got this just random guy who puts on the suit and grabs the shield, and he's the new Captain America.
I hate that.
Right. And it's like it was showing Sam, it's like this isn't right. Like, I don't think Sam's necessarily jealous, but I think he's like, it's almost like defacing the flag, like defacing this character of Captain America. You're just putting some random guy and expecting him to live up to this.
Yeah, and we see from the trailers like they're going to hype this in a big way. They're going to have him like at halftime shows at the Super Bowl.
It's what Captain America was before, essentially. And I think what this is going to do is like this is going to set up, or this is going to like launch Sam into this mindset of, no, I have to be the Captain America. Steve chose me for a reason, so this very thing wouldn't happen. And he just let it happen. And I think this is going to force him to, wake up and like, I got to fix this. So we're going to probably see that. He's probably going to like, I don't know, maybe have a fight with this Captain America, which would be awesome. But he obviously gets his shield back at some point in the future.
Wow, that's something I hadn't thought about.
But I like the way they're using this to set things up. I don't think the characters like this Captain America.
Well, that's the word you used to describe the show.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of setup here.
Yeah.
But I don't think this new Captain America character is going to have too much screen time.
No.
But he's dealing with that whole situation. He's trying to help his sister out. He's trying to just now he's gonna have to decide whether he wants to like fix this whole Captain America situation.
Does he quit? I mean, is that like on the table? Like, do you think that if he's sitting there with his sister who's getting ready to be foreclosed on and lose their business, that was their family business? We don't know the details of their parents' death, do we?
I don't think so.
No, I think they mentioned it.
Okay,
it didn't seem crazy.
It didn't seem like it was. It was crazy. But I'm going to just say as like me, if I would be like, okay, I guess I'm quitting being the Falcon and I'm going to go get a job and save my sister and her kids from losing everything. Do you think that could kind of cross his mind?
I think it did during this episode, when even before the U.S. agent, I think he's thinking my sister, my family needs me, and he was seriously considering it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But like, also, sorry, just like a side point.
Go ahead.
We've seen a lot more already about like post-blip world than we have in anything else. Like they were at the bank and they're talking about how like banks are having to handle loans differently just because 4 billion people just popped into the world,
and
like
something that we would never have thought of.
No, but it just adds to that. The world building in a sense, and it kind of jumps like that kind of can lead us to like this whole Flag Smashers group that like Sam's kind of keeping his eye on. He's got his friend in the Air Force, I don't remember his name, keeping an eye on it. And we have a little bit more information on this group. It seems like it's a group of radicals that think the world was better during the blip, like when nobody was there, like because like there were no national borders, people worked together more because they had to, and so they basically want to reinstate that that order. And the Air Force dude, Sam's friend or whatever, was like, trust me, the world was not better during the blip and stuff. And so it's really like, this is a really cool group in my opinion.
Yeah, and Sam's reaction to that was really telling. It's something that as a dad, we talk about dad moments sometimes on this show. When it gets better for
one group,
it gets worse for another. First of all, I disagree that that's not the way the world's supposed to work.
No.
I disagree that that's like a lack mentality.
It's a very Marxist.
It's like you got to shift power and control, and it's not supposed to be that way with it. But that's an interesting take to see that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and it feels very like almost. I got to be careful the way I deal with this. Captain America fought the Nazis, right? That was his bad guy. This group kind of reminds me of neo-Nazis just a little bit. They're just very radical. They want to completely upend things. They think the world needs to be reshaped and put in a new way, like communism or socialism and stuff. And that's...
So it's a movement. It's a radical political movement.
And it's for this new Captain America. And they modernized how they do things. Like they're using smartphones. It's like AR games
and
stuff.
They're tagging things with AR. Yeah.
I mean, it's very modern, and I like the way they're handling this group. I think it's going to be an interesting.
It's going to be very fun,
antagonistic group. But we can't talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier without talking about the Winter Soldier. And so you see Bucky, and the first thing we see is him as Winter Soldier, like killing, like on a mission for Hydra and stuff. And Mom was really confused at first. She was like, I thought he was good at this point. And I'm like, oh, look at the arm. It's not, vibranium. But like we see him like hunt down this guy and kill him, and then he like kills a civilian who sees him and stuff. And then we see Bucky wake up on the floor, like he's sleeping on the floor in his apartment in cold sweats. And then it like jumps to him in a therapy session. And his therapist is like, are you having any nightmares? And he's like, no. And she's like, I could tell you're lying and stuff. And basically we learn that he's at therapy because it's part of his like pardon from the government. Like they're like, yeah, you can, we'll pardon you for all your crimes, but you've got to go to therapy and stuff. And like one of the things that's required is he's got to make like reparations for parts or for people he's hurt. So he has this notebook with a list of people he needs to cross off the list and make better. And there's like, she's talking about these 3 points, right? He's like, first off, what is it? It's like you can't hurt
nothing illegal.
Nothing illegal. You can't hurt them. And then the third one was
you had to like say the same.
I'm not the Winter Soldier anymore. My name is Bucky Barnes, and I'm sorry or something. And like it's showing him going like, yeah, he's doing these points, but like he's totally breaking the law. Like there's this senator chick or something who's totally corrupt. So he like controls her car to freak her out, right? And like drives her to the police. And then he rolls down the windows and stuff, and her bodyguard attacks him, so he punches the bodyguard, right? Breaks Rule 2. And he's like, hi, I'm not the Winter Soldier anymore. I'm Bucky Barnes. I'm sorry. And I like how they still, like, he's doing what they're telling him to do, but he's still Bucky. Like, he's not going to completely follow the rules. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, Bucky was fun.
He was.
I never would have thought that we see him also parallel Captain America
in Winter Soldier. Like Captain America from Winter Soldier.
From Winter Soldier. Yeah. Well, this idea of
he's trying to get back in the world.
Yeah,
he's got a list like Captain,
exactly.
But it's very different. He's trying to get back into the dating pool, but Captain was agreeing. He's like, I'm old. So Bucky's like, yeah, I'm 106.
All right, I'm gonna throw a crazy speculate responsibly theory here. We've talked personally, and I don't know if we've talked much on the show, but about which one of the two, Sam or Bucky, are going to take up the mantle, take up the shield. They're going to become the next captain. Are they both together the only way you can replace Steve?
I've kind of thought about that. Like they'll share the shield. They share it in the trailers at a couple points. They share
because they're setting that up. The way that they introduced the characters was both of the ways that we saw,
and they're both
Steve.
Fugitives, so they both have that kind of.
But they're both bringing in the different aspects that we need of the soldier. We've got the old guy who's seen some stuff, and then you got this new guy who's also military and stuff. Like it all together, they create this good character of Captain America that we need.
They both didn't comply to the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, that's true. They're both...
Steve didn't either.
Exactly.
And were you surprised, BB Nate, that they didn't... that the series, the first episode, has no interaction at all between Bucky and Sam?
I was really expecting like him to get a text.
I'm like, this is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not the Falcon or the Winter Soldier. I mean, I'm kind of like... Where are we standing here? I mean, I'm kind of wanting some more interaction because that's like my favorite frenemy things in this MCU.
Right. And that's why I said it was set up. Like, it was all set up. They're setting up what the heck Bucky's doing. They're setting up what Falcon's doing. They're setting up the bad guys. But we still haven't had the two main characters interact at all. So I was a little disappointed overall in the episode just because I wanted more, which, really isn't a bad thing. If you want more, that's a good thing. I just can't wait for next Friday. They're doing what WandaVision did. They kept us watching. So I'm really excited for this next week. What are you thinking is going to happen in this next episode? What do you think we're going to see, Nate, in this next week?
I think that we'll just see a little bit more setup, maybe them meeting up, but nothing insane. Nothing that changes the plot. Maybe a little bit more on the U.S. agent John Walker and his Captain America, or just a little bit more on how Bucky's doing therapy and all that stuff. But I don't think we'll get much.
Is Mephisto coming?
Yes.
Oh.
So Mephisto is Captain America's shield.
It's like the One Ring.
Yeah. I think that that it's this John Walker character that is actually going to be what brings Bucky and Sam together. They both feel a loyalty to Steve, and when the Flag Smashers are wreaking havoc across the world, terrorism and things like that, and this joke of a Captain America is the one
he literally winks at the camera.
Yeah,
again.
he was ridiculous. He's the one that's coming back in there. I think that both Sam and Bucky are going to put their differences, and those are significant differences. I think we forget that they don't like each other, and we've seen that in the trailers, but they're not friends.
No, they're frenemies or coworkers, like they say in the trailer.
But this is what's going to bring them together.
Yeah, I agree
for it. So, all right. Most people don't realize this, but some of the most iconic characters in Star Wars history were first introduced to us in animation, including Boba Fett, Asaj Ventress, and General Grievous, just to name a few. It's been a long time coming, but these original animated shows, along with some Ewok fun, are finally coming to Disney Plus for a whole new generation. And that's all coming after these ads, personally chosen for you because Google is watching. This is Tatooine Sons.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
Remember the eyes didn't move because they didn't have the budget? From it, so you see
that is terrifying.
You haven't seen it?
I think I might have just grazed past it.
Speaking of Ewok's Adventures, actually, let's talk about some of the. Let's talk about Wookiees. First,
Wookiees.
The story of the faithful Wookiee is coming to Disney Plus in April, along with a bunch of other things we're going to talk about. It's an animated story that actually aired as part of the infamous 1978 made-for-TV film, the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Good part of that.
Yeah, it was produced by a Canadian animation studio called Nelvana. We'll talk about them in a minute. Most people don't remember anything about the story, other than it's the first appearance of Boba Fett. As well as having most of the original Star Wars cast that voiced the characters for that little cartoon. Sam.
Yes.
After season 2 of The Mandalorian, the announcement of the Book of Boba Fett series, and now this, how's it feel to be a Boba Fett super
We're
fan?
finally getting the representation that we deserve. We've been spending all this time, for me it's been like 5 years, but all this time, just kind of doing our thing, joining Mando Mercs because it's about all we had and stuff, being the Boba Fett fans when everybody didn't understand it, and now they're giving us what we wanted all along.
What do you remember about this cartoon?
Nothing. I remember he rode a weird dinosaur.
Yeah.
He smacked it at one point with his rifle because it wasn't behaving.
And that rifle is the first rifle we see him use in the Mandalorian, or Din Djarin use.
Yeah, it's patterned after that. Yeah, but I remember of the entire holiday special, it was the only thing that was good. And Boba Fett was a really cool character in that series. He was, didn't have the same voice and stuff just because it's, not the same. But it was a good way to set up the character. It was fun. I want to watch this animated thing again. Now that I don't have to brave the rest of the holiday special to watch it, I can just watch the good part. I definitely want to give it a try again.
So do you think they bring in Tamura Morrison to voice over instead so it matches?
No, because this isn't going to be canon.
Because it's Legends.
Yeah.
All right. BB Nate, will we ever, he's talking about the holiday special and not having to brave it anymore. Will we ever see the entire holiday special released? And more importantly, should we?
Hopefully not. I don't think it ever should be considered real again. It's on YouTube.
Go watch it if you want, right?
Warning, it's bad. It's disturbing, but I just don't think it should be on Disney Plus because I think the content they don't allow that on Disney.
It gets
Plus.
the first MA rating on Disney Plus.
on Disney Plus,
and this was in 1978 on CBS
really,
prime time.
It's really strange.
The porno scene.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, the virtual pornography.
We have like the whole storyline of Life Day, and then they throw in dancing, and then they throw in, of course, the animated thing, and it just is like, what?
And terrible makeup on Mark Hamill.
Oh
yeah, it was terrible. Well, but another thing they're bringing in the same time. This is all coming out on April 1st, April Fool's Day. Oh my god,
that's appropriate.
What if they don't really release this? What if this is an April Fool's joke?
That would be a cruel and unusual thing for Disney to do.
This is scary.
Are they trying to?
Because Lucasfilm was didn't respond to comments when people asked them about a statement regarding these things coming out. It took them a while to even respond. Oh crap, what are we running into here? Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, if they come out, it'll be the Ewoks. They're going to have the Ewoks 2 movies. Caravan of Courage is the first one. It was originally called The Ewok Adventure. And it's a 1984 made-for-TV movie that focused on a family of humans who have been shipwrecked. So it's
Swiss Family Robinson?
Swiss Family Robinson in space, in Star Wars. That have been shipwrecked on the forest moon of Endor. The parents are kidnapped by the Gorax, and their children team up with the Ewoks in a quest to rescue them. That's coming out. Then we have Ewoks: The Battle of Endor, which is the 1985 follow-up movie. It centers on Sindel, who's a little girl who joins her friends Noah Wicket, played by Warwick Davis in all of these, and other Ewoks in facing off against a band of marauders. And then we're also getting Ewoks, the animated show, the animated series. It's follows the adventures of the Ewoks in Bright Tree Village prior to the Battle of Endor. So it's a prequel.
Oh,
prequel cartoon. Primary recurring villains are Morag the Tulga Witch and the Ewoks' rival species of Duloks. Wait a second. I'm feeling like I'm going to sing a song from Shrek. The story of the faithful Wookiee. Oh, wait. I'm moving over. Yeah. It was produced by the same people that did the story of the faithful Wookiee from the holiday special with Boba Fett on that. And it was broadcast on ABC from 85 to 86. BB Nate. Return of the Jedi. Rotage. I've got an abbreviation here and I just read it. Rotage is one of your favorite Star Wars films. Because of the Ewoks. Are you excited about this as you were for the Snyder Cut?
No. I'll watch the animated series. I might watch the movies at some point, but it's weird. The one thing that makes me think it is a joke is that April 1st is on a Thursday and not a Friday of the normal release days for...
Maybe I read it wrong and it was April 2nd.
That'd be
good.
No,
it says it's... anyway... I hope so.
I hope it happens. Sammy, stop blinding me with your watch. But I'll be excited for it. I'll watch it, but
okay. Sam, you gonna watch it or not? And why?
I think I'm just gonna leave it be. Gotta have some mystery in Star Wars. I don't need to consume every piece of content that comes out for Star Wars, right? So I think these will just stay in the realm of imagination because I have no idea how good they are. I can imagine they're not the best because people
There's
don't
a
talk
reason
about
they haven't been on anything for a long time. So, and
except for this next thing.
It is actually coming out on Friday, April 2nd is what it says. So maybe we can alleviate the April Fool's jokes associated with that. Last one, Tartakovsky's Clone Wars series.
Woo! Here we go.
It automatically sounds cool just because of his name.
Tartakovsky.
And that's not what his official name is, but that's what it's become known as. It's an animated television series that chronicles the Clone Wars between the Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. It was produced by Cartoon Networks Studios. It aired from 2003 to 2005. And it was designed to bridge between those two films. It was the story. With that. It consists of 25 chapters. Volume 1 is made up of 3-minute installments, while Volume 2 is made up of 12 to 15-minute shows. And the success of the Star Wars Clone Wars series, micro-series or whatever, led to the production of the massively popular Star Wars The Clone Wars series. With that, Sam, you've seen these, but it's been a while from it. What do you remember most about Tartakovsky's Clone Wars?
I remember when Nathan and I would go on trips, we had a little portable DVD player, and we had a case full of discs, and I always made sure we had these 2 discs in the case because we would watch them all the time. I watched them so many times.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I loved these shows. I thought they were the coolest thing. So I'm glad these are coming back. You know, there's aspects of this show that I wish, mainly one, that I wish were canon, and that's mainly the General Grievous.
Yeah, I was going to ask BB Nate about that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We were first introduced to General Grievous in this micro series. What do you? I'll come back to you on that, Sam. But what do you think about him in this series?
I like General Grievous in this series. He's menacing. He is a threat, and I really do enjoy his character. But before the coughing version, I like his backstory with Mace and how they explain that a little bit more. I really enjoy these series. I used to not.
And you get to see him scare Shaggy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With that. What were you going to say about Grievous from your perspective?
It was just a much more menacing character. I mean, it was a scary character, let's just be honest. For that show, it was freaky. Like, he's like standing in the darkness and like running around and just mowing down these Jedi. It was freaky. But it was an intimidating character, and that's what I liked about it. What we got in the Clone Wars, it wasn't that. Not saying it was a bad thing, but that's just not the character we got. And I also like how they explained the whole coughing thing in this series, like how Mace crushed his lungs or something. It gave it some explanation. Not a big deal. But I just felt overall like it was a much more... what's the word I'm looking for? Just a much more threatening villain.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to see it in all of these. Star Wars, just to make sure that I correct myself from that. I literally thought that for a second it might have been an April Fool's joke. But the story of the Faithful Wookiee, all the Ewok shows, and Tartakovsky's Clone Wars are going to drop on Disney Plus on Friday, April 2nd.
You put April 2nd.
Stoosed because I changed it. Yeah.
April 2nd.
Yeah. So maybe we should put together a watch party and watch.
At
least the cartoon, the Boba Fett, the story of the.
All right.
On that'd be a lot of fun. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah. So speaking of animated series, mainly Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, Dirge is officially canon. He's the bounty hunter that Obi-Wan fights. Kind of looks like he's made of bubblegum.
Really strange.
He's canon. He's coming in a comic series. I think it's Dr. Aphra, basically the Battle of the Bounty Hunters or something like that.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
He's going to be going up against Boba Fett. I think I'm going to have to pick up this comic.
Yeah.
And Venom Let There Be Carnage was delayed until September.
I didn't even know this was coming out.
You know why? It's because Fast and Furious 9 got released the same weekend.
9?
They're going to release that. Yep.
9.
Yep.
Wow.
FF9.
Okay, well, that's going to flop, hopefully.
Yep. And the new poster for Loki has fans speculating very irresponsibly right now.
6 clock hands.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we'll be talking more about Loki in future episodes on it.
Of course.
But that's enough for this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Tatooine Sons, a Star Wars podcast.
It's more of a pop culture podcast now, but if you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends, from texting or, social medias and all that stuff. That'd be great.
It's called the Twitter.
The Twitter
and the Facebook. Yep.
And of course, this show is only just a small part of the Star Wars, of the Tatooine Sons universe.
Boy, when you do a Star Wars podcast, for
you say Star Wars
years,
a lot.
You say it a lot. Yeah.
This show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons universe because it sounds fun to make it sound like we're like a whole thing, but we're really not. But go ahead and make sure you follow us on the Facebook and the Twitter to get in on all the action and stay up on all of the pop culture latest news. Go to our website at TatooineSons.com. Yeah. It is a news site. It is not just for the podcast.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss all of our upcoming episodes. Of course, in the next one, we're going to be giving our reactions to the second episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Is there anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.